Let's go to occupied East Jerusalem and speak to Shaina Low, who is a communication advisor for the Norwegian Refugee Council. Shaina, it's always very instructive to hear what the NRC is doing. Can you tell us about how compromised your facilities are, whatever they are, whether they're used as shelters or they're warehouses or they're your organization's offices? What is the violence in Gaza doing to the work that the NRC needs to perform?
Well, the last 8 months have been so disruptive to our work. We have had to uproot our staff, our offices multiple times in order to ensure that our staff are safe, in order to ensure that we can operate. We most recently had to move from Rafah due to the ongoing hostilities there to the middle area of Gaza. Every time we are displaced and our staff are displaced, it makes it more and more difficult for us to do the work that we're doing. We've been struggling for a month now to get access to additional aid that we have in the pipeline so that we can distribute to people who are in need. On top of the lack of aid coming through crossings, the challenges in even getting to crossings to collect that aid if and when it should arrive, and the ongoing hostilities making it difficult to access different parts of Gaza where people are in need. As desperation grows, the situation becomes more and more difficult as civil unrest grows within Gaza to be able to safely distribute. But of course, our staff are just like all other Palestinians in Gaza, facing multiple displacements, ongoing bombardments, loss of everything, family, homes, livelihoods. And so each time over the last 8 months that the violence has increased and continued, we have faced challenges in being able to operate and deliver the type of assistance we want to deliver to people throughout Gaza who are in need.
Shaina, away from the bombs and bullets, how desperate is the situation going to become during the hottest months of the year? Just over the past 48 hours, we've heard that people are now having to drink sewage water, and that piles of rubbish that have not been collected for months are going to cause a rapid spread of disease.
Well, of course, we're going to see a large number of deaths just from the lack of adequate facilities, sanitation services, and as it gets hotter, things will only get more and more difficult. It's about people are facing dehydration, people are facing lack of food, access to food, and it's of course extremely difficult to be operating under such hot conditions. It's been very hot here in Jerusalem for the last week. With temperatures approaching 40 degrees Celsius. And so for people who are already weakened by months of malnutrition, lack of access to adequate food and water, it is certain that we will see people continue to suffer and die as a result of lack of adequate water, medicine, and health facilities to be able to treat people suffering under the heat.
What can you tell us about the displaced Gazans who have been sheltering at UN facilities? Where would they be without those facilities? They're not designed as shelters, but they seem to be the only option that people have.
People are seeking shelter wherever they can find space. And of course, they believe when they go to a UN shelter that they will be safer there. UN facilities are meant to be inviolable. They should never be targeted under any circumstances, whether or not they are being used for military purposes. They still are not allowed to be targeted under international humanitarian law. So people who have been displaced, in many cases multiple times, seek out shelters where they think they might be safer. We saw this with the strike last week in Rafah, where dozens of people were killed after seeking shelter close to a UN logistics base. That because they assume that UN facilities will provide some modicum of protection or at least be safer than other places in Gaza. Of course, the last 8 months have proved to us time and again that there simply is no safe space in Gaza, and that we must continue to push for a ceasefire, we must continue to push for an end of hostilities, and we must continue to push for the protection of civilians.
Shaina, if you don't mind, just a very, very quick answer on this one. In terms of how often you have been asked by broadcasting organizations to tell the world what's happening in Gaza? Have you found over the past few months that there's been some sort of diminishing interest amongst Western broadcasters? And I say that as TRT World because we have focused so much on Gaza since October the 7th.
I think certainly there has been fatigue over the last 8 months. I'm seeing it in the number of requests that we're getting. I think people are growing tired of hearing the same stories every day. Personally, I'm growing tired of telling the same stories every day. We desperately need a change, and we need to remind the international community, including the Western nations, that we cannot look away. The people of Gaza deserve so much more. They deserve an opportunity to raise their families in peace, in security, and to have hope for their futures.
Which is one of the reasons we keep asking you to come back to talk to us, Shaina. Thank you so much.